everything is cleaned up now. I've got a couple of the guides and stuff here installed. You can see they just slide on. They're the same left to right. This one's bolted on. It is not torqued yet. Something I like to do is anytime I torque something, so I replace this coolant hose right here, and then if you run some, take a paint marker, mark all the bolts that you torque. That way you don't forget, especially on a big job. It's going to be several days. It's always a good idea to do that. So I'm going to walk you guys through how to time this engine and how to get all the cam gears on there. So stay tuned here and follow if you guys like this stuff. I like doing some in-depth engine repairs when I can. So I'm going to get another light too to also make this look better. Okay, there we go. So first off, what we're going to do is we're going to get our cam gears set up here. So this is the intake cam bolt. Both of our bolts for each side. And something I did notice on, so this is a 2007 Lexus RX 350. So I don't have the other cam gears to show you, but you have to be careful because in 2007 they did a model switch. So this is a 13080-31030. On some models, there is a 0P040, I believe it is. I've got the boxes. I already packaged them back up for return, but that's the updated exhaust cam actuator. And in order for those to work, you have to get the updated camshaft. So that really doesn't work on this one. I'm not going to get another camshaft. The camshaft is good, so I did have to do some crossing over to be able to get these, and a little digging to be able to find out that these hopefully are correct. I actually haven't tried installing one yet, so let's make sure that it goes on there. It looks right, looking through the packaging, but the old one would not go on the exhaust cam gear. So let's see. All right, perfect. So that works. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the little timing chains. So for bank 2, we're going to go with the number 2 marks. And on this guy, so how they indicate mark 2 is there's the number, the 2 marks, and the arrow, since it's closest to the 2 marks, this arrow is going to be how you time it. And you're going to take the yellow links on your chain, and that is what's going to sit at your timing mark. So we got that one, which that's the, sorry, gotta go in a little chain here, with a little sprocket. There we go. So we got that. And actually, it's a little easier to, so you can actually see the dots from the back side too. So we're gonna go with number 2 right there. And to make, yeah, so number 2 link is right there. There we go. So now you can see that our number 2 links that I showed you guys are lined up. So now, let me set this down. Now, and then before we actually do that, we need to put our, these right here are our tensioners. So we're gonna go ahead and get those installed too. They are marked right and left. So there's an R and an L. And the way you know your right and your left on an engine is from the back of the crankshaft, or as you would be sitting in the car. But since this engine runs basically transverse instead of longitudinal, you imagine being back here, this is your right, this is your left. So you're back here where the flywheel is. So we got our R tensioner. It's gonna sit back here. We get our bolts for those. All right. So there's our bolts. Now it does seem like they have the ability to have a little side-to-side movement here, so looks like pulling that all the way. I'm gonna double check here too. Yes, it says left. Okay. Left and right. So yeah, I'm gonna pull this all the way to the side there. And then I gotta go look up the torque spec. So basically you wanna try and run these where they look like they are running parallel to the cylinder head. So now I gotta torque these. Give me a minute, I'll be back. I'm gonna go get the, it's a Toyota 2007 Lexus RX 350, but it's a Toyota 2GRFE engine. And answering that question for Robbie. So, give me a minute, I'll be back. I'm gonna get those torque specifications for those tensioners. All right, so lined up. There we go. All right. Since that has been torqued, what I will do is mark it with a paint marker. There we go. So now we're good to put the cam gears on. So now, bank 1 is the right side, bank 2 is the left side. So now we're going to slide cam gears up on there. Get them up over the tensioner. There you go. All right, so now, from what I was reading and what I've been researching, they don't say to be too specific about your timing marks because the links on your chain are what are going to matter. So you have number 2, yellow link, number 2, yellow link, but then also there is a paint mark back there that I made from when I took them off. And then what you can also do is verify that this is correct. As long as your vehicle wasn't out of time before you took it apart, you can always recheck your components that you took off. So we have the old ones here, and we can look here. Number 2 got the big fat arrow there, and you can see this gear and that gear are lined up. They're paint marked with the mark that's on there, and same with the exhaust sprocket. Number 2, center line, all lines up. These are the old ones, and you can see here this is why we're replacing it. See where it's starting to pop out there? So that's why we're replacing these gears. All right, so now those are on. We're gonna torque those cam gears last, but we will go ahead and run the bolts in. Make sure there's some oil on them. I did read that in the repair instructions, so make sure there's oil on the threads. We're gonna run them in for now. Just finger tight. All right. Now, we got to do the same thing for bank 1. Okay. So now, I'm going to point this over here. No, this is not a Coyote V8. If you see here, you count the spark plug tubes. It's a 6-cylinder, yeah, and it is out of a Toyota. V8 Coyote, so, okay, we're talking about that. That is still a dual overhead cam, dual cam phasers. So kind of similar setup, yeah. So anyway, now we're gonna take, we got intake gear, we have exhaust gear. Now these are going to be for bank 1. So you can see the single dot there. So we're going to go chain on the single dot. And then on this one over here, we're going to go with the single line since this is bank 1. And get on there. There we go. So again, bank 1. This is line 1. And then, now this bank, since it was up on TDC, it is kind of difficult to get these to match up because the cams want to jump and move on you. So we'll see if it wants to line up or not. Yeah, so as you can see here, they don't want to sit back and line up because they have already rotated. Alright, so this guy has rotated quite a bit. Let's see. Alright, there we go. So they have both rotated a lot. You can see time mark 1 is supposed to be over here. So now what we're going to do, since they're both on there, and they were both on the right timing marks, which they still are. So now what we can do is you can rotate both of those back. So here's what I recommend doing for that. Put your bolts in, get an adjustable wrench, and if you have a nice, good quality thin adjustable wrench, I recommend using that. And there is a hex on the intake cam right here that you can rotate it with. What we got to do is get the timing marks to line back up. So, both fully seated. Get it. It is a 3.5 liter. And no, this is my neighbor's vehicle. All right. So now what we don't want it to do is jump. See how it wants to jump right there? This is the difficult part. So, it does not want to stay. There's another hex right here, but it is very hard to get to unless you got a thin adjustable wrench. Oh, too much. There we go. So, to keep it on TDC, this is why you don't want to use a ratchet, because it will want to keep moving on you. And be careful. All right. So, yeah, it wants to keep, can you show the car? Yes, I can show the car. It is a Lexus RX 350. Nothing crazy. Okay. So now, timing marks are lined up. Got 1 and 1. Okay. So now, I've got to run the chain, but also I need to torque down this guide because I've not done that yet. So I'll be right back. Okay, so the torque spec on the guide is 23 Newton meters. So we're going to torque this down. All right. Now that's been torqued. So now I got to set the main timing chain. Oh, South Africa, that's cool. What time is it in South Africa? We are at 12 o'clock here on the east coast of the United States. All right, so now we have our big timing chain here. And as you can see, there are paint marks on it as well. These paint marks correspond to the paint marks on the cams. So now we're going to set, well, I believe paint marks should be out. So now one thing you'll have a difficult time with is there's a flat spot on the cam right here. So we'll start with this side first. Also, what we could go ahead and do, since we got the tensioners on, torqued, these are not torqued yet, but could go ahead and just give them a little tap. I believe those are 17s, yep. So, what I will go ahead and do is just snug them a little bit, nothing crazy. Okay. That didn't feel good. There we go. Keep moving on me. All right, so there we go. Make sure it's on there all the way. We're going to rotate it back. Check our time marks. These things are they're a pain in the butt sometimes. Now the problem is, I can't hold this. There we go. We're going to keep that ratchet, or the wrench there. That'll kind of keep it from moving around. Okay. So now, snug these up a bit. Make sure all of our marks are still good. So we can rotate it back a little bit. Right there. We're gonna keep that there just in case. Okay. Timing marks are lined up. Now, this is the paperwork on each bank for timing. Oh, I already had the torque specs printed out. All right. So, need to find the timing marks for the chain. Come on. Oh, we're back to square one. So I just got to figure out, most likely, the painted marks are going to be facing out, but better to be, oh, so yeah, now that those are kind of tightened down, go ahead and pull your tensioner pins out. And then this side has a flat, so we can get the chain on it. And then there's an idler sprocket right here that we will install in a bit. And this will go right there. But what we got to do, we actually have to turn the engine back in order to get, nope, in order to get this flat to line up and get the chain in. So, all right, that is why got so much spring tension there. So now, this mark is going to line up with cylinder 1. Since the flat is on the cam right there, that'll allow the chain to go in. Now what we're going to do is rotate that cam. Well, what we'll actually do is we're going to leave it like this so we can put the idler in there. Now, something that I did not know is that this idler right here, you can actually see where it's kind of started to wear some spots in there. So when you put your chain on that idler, you have to, well, another thing is this little piece right there has to go in the block. But anyway, you have to make sure the chain sets inside on this rubber properly. You can also see here, that little hole is not where, so that hole is not where that pin goes. Because, yeah, that's off center. So the pinhole has to go up here. It can't go up there. Nope. So this has to sit right in that valley, right there. What that does is that allows this little opening here to get oil. So we're going to take this guy, run it in. believe that's a 10mm Allen. Yes, this is a V-type engine. So, I'm going to run this guy in. Oh, make sure that that little piece lines up in the center of the board right here. The little nipple. There we go. So now, you can see that the chain Alright, so let me grab my phone and I'll actually show you guys what I mean. I'll get up really close. So, alright. This is very important if you do end up taking this idler gear off. So if you see right here how that chain is sitting on the idler nice and level, right? But if I turn it one tooth like this, now you see how it's riding on top of the rubber instead of setting down in the rubber. It is a V6. So, what we got to make sure is when we go to tension the chain, we have to make sure that it's sitting like this. Okay? All right, gonna get you guys back up here. And get the light back. There we go. So now, gotta look up the torque spec on that, which I should have here on the paper somewhere. Printed all these papers out. There we go. So we have 60 Newton meters on that idler right there. All right. There we go. 60 Newton meters. A little bit of brake clean. Mark that. So now, here's something where I messed up. So over here you can see I don't have the chain on the side of the tensioner. So what we're gonna do is take that back off really quick. That was my fault for not paying attention. And then, so. There's that. Alright, so that's on the right side of the pencil. And got to retorque that, and that's 23 Newton meters. on that side of the tensioner. Now, when I rotate this cam back to where it's supposed to be, you'll see this start to tighten up. But we got to make sure that this is sitting, there we go, in the right spot. So. I messed up. So, this is bank 2. This chain needs to move this way a bit. And that's why we don't have enough slack. There we go. Bank 1, those are lined up, those are lined up, bank 2, now, actually could move this back a hair, okay, and then this needs to be seated correctly again. There we go. Alright, this is bank 1, bank 1, bank 1. Same thing. Line up. There we go. Now, get the tension out of it. We're going to leave the wrench just so it doesn't jump. So now we can see that all the tension is on it. Idler is seated well. Yes. You can actually see the little spots where this rubber and the chain has wore in, so that's good. And also, when I'm done, what I will do is take some oil and I'll run it along the chain and the guides and all that stuff, kind of get it all souped up where it's supposed to be. And then this guy should, might have to take that crank. Yeah, might take that off. Oh, don't want to get that magnetized. All right. Now all of our timing marks look good. Bank 2, good, 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 good. Bank 1, a little off, which is okay. Okay. So now, what I gotta do is get this bolt out. That is a 22 millimeter. In this case, I'm going to use a 7/8. Okay. Now, there we go. Now you will see, got that on there now. Run this back in. There's another dot down here on the crank gear. So just snug this up. Now I'm going to go another step further too. I'm going to put the front cover on dry with the harmonic balancer to check to make sure it is timed correctly. So all of this tension or slack is on the tension side, which is good. Now all we got to do is slide this out, and it looks like the crankshaft needs to move a little bit back, which is actually correct because apparently this is really dumb, but the timing mark for the crankshaft, this little dot is supposed to be lined up with, I guess, this casting mark right there. I made my own mark where I took it off from, which does make sense because you can see the dot right here. That dot lines up with the pink link. So, yes, I would have done this job without dropping the engine, but there's not much room against the body of the car. If you look at the labor time for doing it in a Lexus, it actually calls for removing the engine. But yes, a lot of the Fords, a lot of other engines, you can do them in the car. This is just how Toyota Lexus had designed it. But anyway, so what I'm gonna have to do is rotate the crankshaft down here so I make this pink link line up with, and it's very close. I'm only gotta move it a little bit, but that dot. And also, gotta make sure that this is all the way back. So yeah, I only need to rotate it back just a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I do recommend doing this with a wrench instead of a ratchet, because if it wants to jump on you, you can catch it with a wrench. A ratchet will just spin. Okay, here we go. So, tension's, all of this is tension. That's good. All of our slack is on this side where the tensioner goes. That's all cleaned up. So, we get our 2 bolts for the tensioner and put the new tensioner in there. Now, something I've been thinking about, I was talking about putting the front cover on, dry fitting it. That might not be a good idea because the tensioners on these are oil fed. They do have a ratcheting system on them, but if I turn this over and it doesn't tension that chain correctly, there is a possibility that it could jump. So I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just going to go with the specifications. I'll double check everything, but I'm probably not going to turn it over. Yes, it is a V6 Toyota engine for Manhart, and if that really is your M3, that is sweet. Okay, so we have a tensioner here. Actually, here we go. Got to do the guide first. So, the guide just slides over this guy on the bottom, like so. And then our tensioner. Ooh, this is awfully tight. Make sure we got everything seated correctly. Got a little bit of slack there. So we're going to see if we can get rest of the slack. So I'm going to move so it started to jump on the chain on the bottom. There we go. Now you saw all the tension go out there. I don't think it was seated on the crank all the way. Alright. So now, tensioner goes here. There we go. These are little tiny 10mm bolts. Okay. Torque on those is 10 Newton meters. All right, my digital doesn't go down that way, so 10 Newton meters. Good. Gonna mark these. There we go. Now, going to double check all of my timing marks, make sure that everything is good, and we will go from there. Bank two, bank two, bank two, bank two. All right, we got bank one, bank one, bank one, bank one, bank one. Okay. So you can still see a little bit of tension, or slack right here. So now, bam. Slack's gone. A little bit here. All of that will be taken up whenever it starts up. Now, one thing I want to make very clear to everybody is when you're doing timing chains, this is my opinion, you should always make sure when you go to start these up, do not just immediately start it up. Disable the fuel pump, disable the coil packs, disable the injectors, something like that so it won't start. And crank it over for at least 30 seconds. So it builds oil pressure up. It builds up to obviously everything has been drained out of this. It's been sitting for a long time. So it's gonna build up oil pressure to the cams, the lifters, the timing chains, especially since you just put them on there. Let this tensioner build enough oil pressure to where it pushes it out where it's supposed to be. Because if you just start it up dry and it doesn't get any oil, it could jump timing and you're redoing all of this. So that's what I always have done. And I've never had an issue with it. All right, so all the timing marks are good. This is how you set the timing up on these. Not too bad. And then, like I was talking about earlier, with that additional mark down here, it does look like it's lined up better where it's supposed to be. But as long as all of your links line up where they're supposed to be, then everything should be good. that's about where they were when I took it apart, so that's good. Now that will take all the tension, or all the slack. Yep, took all the slack out of this. That's all tight. All of our slack is on the tensioner side. Good. So that is how you set up the timing chains. These guys still have to be torqued. So basically, like I was turning the cam, hold your cam, torque them down. I'll do another video, but I'm about to go grab some food. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to the channel to see more cool stuff like this.